Joe, there's been a bit of time for the dust to settle. Where do you sit on the Jonny Bairstow dismissal? Was it in the spirit of cricket, in your opinion?
Well, when you said Jonny Bairstow, I thought you were going to refer to the protesting incident. But look, there's been a lot said. To be honest, I can't believe how much has been covered on it. I think, look, from my point of view, personally, I try and put myself in that situation, in that position, and I'd like to think I'd have dealt with it very differently. I think Ben spoke very well on it at the end of the game. As a team, we want to play our cricket a certain way. We want to leave a certain legacy, and clearly it's been very different how we've gone about cricket, Test cricket, in the last 18 months, in terms of how we play our cricket physically, if you like. But I also think we play our cricket in a slightly different way in that respect as well. But I think it's time for everyone to move on, and let's concentrate on this game now.
Will it change the way you play your cricket? It's talk of man-cadding and all sorts now. Has it changed the bar? How this?
Like I say, we want to play our cricket a certain way, and we'll continue to do that.
And Australia have said that the fact that Jonny Bairstow tried to do it to Marnus Labuschagne earlier in that test makes it a bit hypocritical. What's the take on that?
Well, if you look at the footage, Jonny didn't take any advantage, or didn't gain any advantage by doing what he's doing. I think as a batter, you're fully aware when you're batting out of your crease that you are, for a number of different reasons, gaining advantage, whether it's covering different angles, trying to take modes of dismissal out of the game, rather than scratching your mark back at the end of an over and then walking to see your mate at the other end. That's my take on it.
How do you think it will change the relationship between the players?
Don't know, really. We'll see, won't we? We'll see how the atmosphere is throughout this Test match. I could say throughout this whole series, not tried to be too focused on what Australia are doing, to be honest. It's all about what we want to do. And for us, we've got 3 opportunities to win the Ashes. We've got to play well for 3 games, but we've shown our recent form that we're more than capable of doing that. We love playing at this venue. You go back to 2019, that Ashes environment, the crowd and the atmosphere that was created throughout that Test match was incredible. That last day, the noise, the interaction from the crowd was exceptional, and that's why we love playing here, is because we're so well supported, and it makes for a brilliant spectacle. So I'm sure we'll get a similar amount of support this week as well.
Can the hurt, the anger motivate you if you use it in the right way?
Well, I think Ben's innings, I think that's the way to respond, isn't it? Is put it into your performance. However you feel about it, it's very much divided, a lot of opinions, and everyone will have their own feelings on that, and that's fine. And everyone's entitled to that. But I guess as a player, it's how you want to play the game, how you want to be remembered, and that's up to each individual.
Finally, from me, Ollie Pope's been ruled out for the summer. How big a blow is that? And would you consider moving up to 3? Has there been any conversation around that?
I think in terms of team, that'll be tomorrow, is it?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Tomorrow, so not my call anymore, thankfully. So it's a big blow there. Ollie's been phenomenal for us for the last 18 months. He's stepped up as vice captain of this team, and the more responsibility that's been given to him, the more you've got out of him as a player, as a leader within the group. He'd be a big miss for us. Obviously, he's a hell of a player, and he's a great mind to have in the group as well. I think Ben gains a huge amount from having him as vice captain, as do a number of the guys around. So, of course, it'd be a big loss. He's been an integral part of this team, and will continue to be for many more years to come.
Joe, as you said, there's been an incredible amount of talk and discussion about what happened at Lords over the last 24 hours. When Prime Ministers start talking about cricket and Ashes series, does that amuse you, or does it interest you? Do you think it's helpful in terms of the whole atmosphere around this series?
I try and avoid politics when it comes to press conferences. So,
well, politicians are getting involved in cricket.
Look, I don't think it makes any difference to how we go and play this week. As I say, we've got a must-win game, and we've got nothing to lose as a team. We'll just throw everything at this week, and make sure we give ourselves the best chance in getting back into this series and and playing our best cricket. That's all we can control now. That's all we can do. So you've got to draw a line under it at some point, some time. I think for us, we just got a great opportunity in front of us now. We've got to see it as that. As I mentioned, we're going to have brilliant support, and we've got to thrive off that. And when we find ourselves in a position in the game which we can take advantage of, we've got to grab it with both hands.
Yeah, I want to talk about the atmosphere, and you're right, of course, that England have produced some incredible performances here over many years. There was behaviour, particularly by some MCC members, in that privileged long room position, which was, I think, disappointing to everybody. You know the Yorkshire public very well. What would you say to them about what kind of behaviour they should bring to this match here?
Support England. I think that's the most important thing. You come to support your nations. It doesn't need to go beyond that. It should never go beyond that. Everyone should be here to enjoy the cricket on the field. And, that's what it should be about. It shouldn't be about anything other than that. So come here, support your team, do it to the best of your ability. We'll play to the best of ours, create that brilliant atmosphere that's been created at this ground for on previous occasions, like in 2019. And we should have a fantastic week.
Joe, I just want to ask finally, you talked about the legacy word, and I know that's what you're trying to do with the style of play, as well as, again, you referenced the kind of the ethics of it, I suppose. There's been a lot of talk in recent years about Australia changing their style and the way they want to be seen as a team. Do you think that's genuine? Do you think there is a different
It's not. I don't think it's really for me to say, to be honest. Like I said, I care about England cricket and this team and what we're about as a team, and that's our focus is to do it how we want to do it. And we're very much at the start of a journey as a group, doing things in a different manner. But we all know how we want to play our cricket, and we'll continue to play it that way. Still respect between the teams, or is that gone? Of course, there's always going to be respect there. But you're allowed to disagree on certain things and see the game differently, and clearly that is the case on this topic. Thanks very much.
Okay, let's go Arif, Yorkshire, ITV Yorkshire, and Bharat, and then Vish.
Hi, Joe, just one from me. How special is a home test match, Ashes test match, for you and the Yorkshire boys?
Yeah, I think whenever anyone gets the opportunity to play at the home ground, it's always special. I love coming back and playing at this ground, and it should be no different this year. It'd be nice to come back to an Ashes test match here, not as captain, and just be able to enjoy it from a slightly different perspective. Obviously looking forward to it. It should be great.
All right, go ahead.
Joe, there were an incredible number of short balls in the last test. So can you talk about it from a batter's perspective, like what it is like when it's so one-dimensional, especially on a slow, flat pitch where the straight field is almost like taken out of the picture?
Look, I think that when it comes to short pitch bowling, everyone looks at it as if you get out taking it on or whatever. It can be seen as dumb batting, but if you bowl the top of off for long periods of time and you get out nicking off, no one really says anything about it. It's just a different way of attacking an opposition, and as a batter, you've got to be well equipped to deal with it. The difficult thing about last week was the two-pace nature of the surface, the way it came out at completely different speeds, different bounce. You couldn't trust the wicket, and that's what made it so challenging for both teams. When Australia went to it when we were batting, we obviously experienced it first. We realised how tough it was, and then we used it to our advantage when we came to bowl in that second innings. And it just proved that it wasn't necessarily the decisions that the guys are making, but also the wicket. And it's like when you get on a green wicket that's nipping everywhere, or a raging turner, sometimes you've got to find a different way of managing it and understanding that the odds are in the bowler's favour, and you've got to be good enough to find ways around that and to manage it differently. So it might be that we find a similar surface. It might be that we find something completely different this week. You've got different dimensions of the ground, different tactics might come into it. Sides might have different attacks as well, which might change their plans too. So that's the beauty of Test cricket, is you've got to be adaptable. You've got to try and read what's right in front of you and play it to the best of your advantage. And that's the opportunity that's ahead of us batters this week, is can we find a way of managing the surface, managing the opposition, and making those big scores which win your Test matches.
And just you spoke about like batters from both sides fell playing shots, and Neil Wagner made a career out of bowling bouncers at like the early 80s or the mid 80s. So can you just is it the a little bit extra time you have when it's not like flying over your head at 95 miles an hour that kind of coaxes you into playing shots just for any batter?
I think it all depends on the surface. If you can trust the surface, it takes the decision making out of it, because you can trust your instincts. If it's two-pace nature, sometimes it makes it like a little bit more tricky. You start potentially second-guessing yourself, and you can't just stick to one method sometimes. So I think that was the case this week, or in the previous Test match. Again, we could find a very different surface. Could be the guys turn to it and get panned everywhere. It could look very different. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what we get and how good we are at countering it if we need to. It looks from afar, I've not looked at that wicket, but it looks from afar there's plenty of live grass on it, so it'll be interesting to see if sides go to that.
Vish and then Rory, and then we'll do Louis and Dan.
Hi Joe, I appreciate you said that Ben is going to announce the team tomorrow, but would you be up for batting at number 3?
I'm up for playing for England. I just, I feel like the last couple of years I've got a very good understanding of my game, and I've said many times before, my turn now as a senior player to give back to everyone else that's had to put with me as captain for so long, and doing it my way. So I'm there to go and try and score runs in whatever position that is, and try and get us back into this series.
Would you say that's a common thread between you and the other batters who might step up, in that obviously everyone has positions, but because of the way they're being allowed to play and told to play, I suppose, that kind of anyone would be up for it?
Yeah, I think the way that as a batting group we look at the game is very different to what it probably was 18 months ago. And I think for the better as well. That mindset shift, I think, allows you to welcome different situations, different scenarios, and go and thrive in those positions and those moments. So I'm sure whoever it is gets that opportunity will relish it and try and make the most of it.
Rory.
Thanks, Joe. Building on that, I appreciate you're not naming the team, but the spare batter in the team is Dan Lawrence in the squad. Was last seen in the West Indies in your last series. Can you give us a word on Dan and how how he offers as a player? And he had some good moments in that West Indies series before dropping out again.
Yeah, and he's in good form as well. Got 150 odd for Essex in the last championship game, I think. I think he had a great touch there where he batted and walked off the field, got in his car and came down to Lords, so he didn't have to field. So I think he's in a good mood, in good spirits, and in good form as well, which is always nice when you've got guys on the periphery and on the next in line and are scoring runs and feeling good within their own game. That's a nice position to be in. So yeah, you've seen a glimpse of what he can do at Test cricket. I scored a brilliant 99 was it, or something. He got out last ball of the day, looked nailed on for 100 there at Barbados, and I think he's got a very exciting career ahead of him. Whenever an opportunity arises for him, he's got that steeliness about him that wants to succeed at this level, and he's got a great game to go with it. So it's an exciting prospect.
Got a few more to do, so one each. We'll do Sam first, Channel 9, then Andrew behind, and then we'll finish with Louis and Dan.
Hey Joe, appreciating that you don't want to continue to speak about the reaction to everything from the second test. I'm sorry. Just right at the start though, you mentioned that you've been surprised by the reaction, or you haven't been able to believe, the reaction. Do you mind us expanding on that and I guess how, this is all the last few days has been different to previous Ashes series and incidents that have happened over the years, the reaction?
There's always something, isn't there? Every series has something. I'm surprised that, obviously it was going to create debate and draw attention. But the fact that we're still talking about it now ahead of the next game is what I meant by that. But I guess when it's a big series and a critical moment in the game, it's gonna grab headlines and it's gonna get people talking. So that's I guess what I meant by it. And I fully respect everyone will have their own views on it and their own opinions on it, and I hope people respect mine.
Joe, Steve Smith is reaching 100 Test matches this week. Yours and his careers have sort of run the same timeline. I appreciate you're in the heat of battle at the moment, but just what has stood out for you as a player from him, watching him closely as you have done over the years?
I've watched far too much of him over the years. It's fair to say he's a phenomenal player. I think one of the most impressive things about him is you look at the first 15 or 20 games of his career and he was very much finding his way still. And then the way he's been able to manage his batting and situations, he's a very smart player. I think he reads the game extremely well at the crease. He's got a very unique way of playing, but he knows it inside out, and he seems to manage different passages very well and understand how he wants to score his runs. You can't be as successful as he's been for such a long period of time without a huge amount of skill and adaptability. And he's one of the great players in modern Test cricket. Love to see him struggle this week, but that's the nature of it. You can't take away the fact that he's a wonderful player.
Dan, and then we'll finish with Louis. One each, please.
Joe, one more on Sunday, sorry. You've been labelled, the team at least has been labelled by some of the Aussie tabloids as sore losers. How do you respond to that? I
said everyone's entitled to their opinion. Everyone will see it very differently. And I guess it's, as a player, you've got to, I guess, you want to play the game as how you want to play it, and it was within the rules. It was technically out. If you're happy with that, then fine. If you're not, I don't think you can bemuse other people that play the game slightly differently.
Last one, Louis.
Joe, more of a tactical one. You guys have scored your runs very quickly. The teams scored their runs very quickly, but it's probably meant that your bowlers have had to go out and bowl sooner than maybe Stuart and Jimmy would have liked sometimes. Can you kind of talk about that, whether that is the case and whether you kind of think about that as a batting unit in terms of giving, those older guys a bit more of a rest given what they've been asked to do in this series?
Imagine if we just bat a bit longer and still score as quickly. We'll get a big score, won't we? And put us in a really good position. I think everyone goes out there and, your aim is to build those big partnerships, get yourselves in positions which win you games. It doesn't matter how quickly you do it. And you're looking to manage different situations and try and wrestle back momentum and put pressure on bowlers, whether it's using different angles or, taking calculated risks at certain points. We play our cricket a certain way. If we do it for long periods of time, we're going to drive games forward very quickly and put ourselves in strong positions. So I think as a team, we keep things very simple. We want to go out and try and put pressure on our position when it comes to batting and absorb it at times when we need to. And then with the ball, it's about taking wickets. It's all about taking wickets. And there's obviously different ways that you can go about doing that. But it's about trying to exploit the surface that's in front of you and working together as a collective to take those chances when they come in the field and just keep hunting those wickets with ball in hand. And that's their job as bowlers, is to go and do that. Ours is to back it up in the field, and when we go out there, make sure we get more runs than Australia.